The world of oil and power is always shifting, with markets rising and falling and nations constantly seeking new ways to secure their energy futures. Every so often, a moment arrives that truly changes the game, reshaping not just economies, but the very relationships between countries. On September 2, 2025, such a seismic change took place in North America, sending shockwaves through the global energy sector and capturing the attention of industry leaders worldwide. Alberta, Canada's energy heartland, has signed the Edmonton-Edo Accord, a landmark, long-term oil supply partnership with Japan. This agreement marks a new era of cooperation built on mutual trust and shared economic interests. This isn't just a trade deal, it's a strategic realignment, forging a vital new energy artery across the Pacific and breaking Alberta's century-old reliance on the U.S. market. It signals a bold step toward diversification and resilience. For decades, Canadian oil flowed almost exclusively south. But now, Alberta is investing in new infrastructure, creating thousands of jobs, and establishing a direct, reliable link with Japan's growing energy needs. The deal is about more than barrels. It's about economic independence for Alberta, energy security for Japan, and a future where both partners can thrive in a rapidly changing world. This move shakes up pipeline politics and the balance of power in Asia, challenging old alliances and prompting new conversations about the future of global energy. We'll explore the powerful forces that drove these nations together, the cutting-edge technology enabling this shift, and the global ripple effects, including strong reactions from the US and China, who now face a transformed energy landscape. The Edmonton-Edo Accord is redrawing the world's energy map, creating new opportunities and challenges, with consequences that will echo for decades to come. Let's dive into the story behind this historic pivot and discover how it's shaping the future of energy for generations ahead. Alberta's identity and economy have always been deeply intertwined with oil. From the first discoveries in the early 20th century, oil has shaped the province's destiny, fueling its growth and defining its place in Canada and the world. The excitement of those early days, when oil derricks dotted the landscape and workers flocked to booming towns, set the stage for decades of prosperity and challenge. Over time, attention shifted to the vast Athabasca oil sands, one of the largest petroleum reserves on the planet. These immense deposits transformed Alberta into a global energy powerhouse, attracting investment and innovation on an unprecedented scale. For over a century, nearly all of Alberta's oil flowed south to the United States. This created a deep economic dependency, as pipelines and trade routes were built to serve a single, dominant customer. This relationship, once comfortable and profitable, made Alberta a price taker, vulnerable to the shifting winds of U.S. politics and global market forces. The province's fortunes rose and fell with decisions made far beyond its borders. Then came the American Shale Revolution. Suddenly, Alberta was no longer the only game in town. It found itself competing directly with Texas and North Dakota, selling into a saturated market where prices were driven down and competition was fierce. Billions of dollars were lost each year due to the differential, the gap between what Alberta oil fetched and global prices. This exposed the risks of relying on a single customer and highlighted the urgent need for change. Pipeline projects, once seen as Alberta's lifeline, became hostage to U.S. regulatory delays and political battles. The province's economic fate seemed increasingly out of its own hands. Frustration grew across Alberta. People realized they were trapped by geography, landlocked and over-reliant on a neighbor who had become both a customer and a competitor. The need for a new strategy became urgent. Alberta possessed world-class resources, but to truly control its destiny, it needed access to new markets and new buyers. The stage was set for a dramatic pivot, a bold move to reshape Alberta's future and secure its place in the global energy landscape. Alberta's future would depend on breaking free from its southern cage, finding new pathways to prosperity and independence. The search for new buyers was no longer optional, it was essential. Alberta's next chapter would be defined by its ability to adapt, innovate, and reach out to the world. The Keystone XL pipeline became the symbol of Alberta's frustration. Years of political battles in the U.S. ended with its cancellation, showing Alberta that its economic future could be derailed by foreign politics. The dream of deeper integration with the U.S. soured, replaced by urgency to find new customers. Other pipeline projects faced similar hurdles, making tidewater access, the ability to ship oil globally, the province's holy grail. The only logical alternative, look west to the Pacific and the energy-hungry markets of Asia. The Canadian government recognized the economic cost of being locked into a single market. The Keystone XL failure forced a radical rethinking of Canada's energy identity. Alberta had to become a global energy player, not just a US supplier. The pivot to Asia was born out of necessity and ambition. The path forward was clear. Alberta would look east. The Edmonton-Edo Accord is a multi-billion-dollar, 20-year partnership. Japan's refiners will buy up to 1 million barrels per day of high-quality synthetic crude processed in new Alberta facilities. This value-added approach keeps more profits and jobs in Canada. 2 advanced upgraders are being built, creating thousands of jobs and setting new environmental standards with carbon capture technology. The deal has sparked a wave of investment, innovation, and collaboration between Canadian and Japanese firms. Local businesses and communities are seeing renewed prosperity. Indigenous groups are equity partners, ensuring direct benefits and a new model for economic reconciliation. A portion of revenues funds infrastructure, education, and healthcare in affected communities. This isn't just about oil, it's about building a more prosperous, equitable Alberta. The deal is transforming the province's future. For Japan, the accord is a strategic masterstroke. Heavily dependent on imported energy, Japan has long worried about its reliance on the unstable Middle East. The deal with Alberta offers a secure supply from a democratic G7 partner, bypassing geopolitical choke points. Alberta's synthetic crude is tailored for Japanese refineries, cleaner, easier to process, and more efficient. This partnership reduces risk, stabilizes prices, and strengthens Japan's economic resilience. For Tokyo's citizens, it means reliable energy and stable prices. For Japan's government, it's a foundation for greater independence in foreign policy. The accord is a cornerstone of Japan's 21st century energy security. Japan has found its safe harbor. None of this is possible without new infrastructure. Alberta's upgraders transform heavy bitumen into valuable synthetic crude, ready for export. These facilities use cutting-edge environmental controls, including carbon capture, making the oil among the world's cleanest. The Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion is the vital link, tripling capacity to nearly 900,000 barrels per day from Edmonton to the Pacific. New marine terminals in Burnaby now load massive tankers bound for Japan. This logistical chain from oil sands to tanker is a marvel of engineering and a permanent rerouting of North American energy flows. Alberta finally has tidewater access, making the pivot to Asia a reality. The Pacific Energy Corridor is open for business. The infrastructure is in place. The world is watching. Alberta's oil is now a global force. The Edmonton-Edo Accord has sent shockwaves through Washington, leaving U.S. refineries and policymakers scrambling for answers. The sudden shift has created a sense of urgency and uncertainty in the American energy sector. For decades, the United States enjoyed privileged, almost guaranteed access to Canadian oil, a lifeline that fueled specialized refineries along the Gulf Coast and powered much of the nation's economic engine. This relationship was the backbone of North American energy security. Now, with a significant share of Canadian crude heading to Japan, this comfortable arrangement has been upended. The U.S. is no longer the default destination for Alberta's oil, and the ripple effects are being felt across the industry. U.S. refiners are being forced to seek out new, often more expensive sources of crude, ending the era of cheap and reliable Canadian supply. This means higher costs, tighter margins, and increased competition for every barrel. The United States now finds itself in direct competition with Japan for Alberta's oil, losing the leverage it once held over its northern neighbor. The balance of power in North American energy has shifted. This dramatic shift weakens the long-held concept of North American energy independence, fundamentally altering the continental power dynamic and raising questions about future alliances. Policymakers who once took Canadian oil for granted now face the consequences of complacency. The new reality demands urgent strategic thinking and adaptation. The U.S. may attempt to woo Canada back with new incentives or compete more aggressively on the global stage, but the relationship has fundamentally changed, and trust is not easily rebuilt. The border between the two nations remains, but the energy partnership that once defined it has faded, leaving both sides to navigate a new, more complex landscape. America must now adapt to this new reality, rethinking its strategies, investments, and alliances in a rapidly changing global energy market. The energy map of North America has been redrawn, with new routes, new players, and new uncertainties shaping the future. The United States is no longer the only game in town. Other nations are eager to step in and claim their share of Alberta's resources. The world is watching closely to see how America responds to this unprecedented challenge, as the stakes for global energy security have never been higher. As Japan secures its energy future, China is watching closely. China, the world's largest oil importer, has long eyed Alberta's oil sands but never secured a major supply deal. The Japan deal is both a setback and a signal. The Pacific corridor is open. China may now pursue its own long-term contracts, offering investment or pipeline expansion in exchange for supply, but a deal with China brings geopolitical complexities. Unlike Japan, China is a strategic rival to the US. Any agreement would draw scrutiny from Washington and could spark a bidding war. Alberta stands at the center of global competition, balancing opportunity and risk. The dragon is no longer just watching. It's preparing its next move. The stakes have never been higher. The Edmonton-Edo Accord is reshaping the global energy landscape. The Canada-Pacific Corridor links North America and Asia, diversifying supply chains and reducing reliance on volatile regions. Canada emerges as a major independent energy player, commanding better prices and greater sovereignty. OPEC and Russia now face a new competitor in Asia, potentially lowering global prices and shifting alliances. The Canada-Japan partnership strengthens democratic ties in the Indo-Pacific, encouraging other nations to seek secure energy deals. This is friendshoring in action, a counterweight to authoritarian influence in global energy. The accord sets off a cascade of events. Will other provinces follow? How will the US respond? Will China make its move? The quest for oil, money, and power is entering a new era of transformation. The world's energy map has been redrawn. The story of Alberta's pivot is just beginning.